All praise is due to Allah and the person of Master Muhammad. My name is Brother Minister YaSin Allah. We're here today to deliver the preachers and teachings of the Most Honorable Mr. Muhammad and prepare the way for our main speaker. In the name of Allah and the person of Master Muhammad, the great Mahdi, who was to come and has come to restore us who were lost from our own, the kingdom of Islam, and to destroy those who have destroyed us. We are thy people, O Allah, and grant us the strength and the endurance to build this new nation and follow the teachings of the Most Honorable Mr. Muhammad. Peace, peace. Assalamu alaikum. Again, my name is Brother YaSin, and I'm here to open up for Brother Student Minister Kevin Muhammad. And I'd like to open up and talk about some current events, what's going on in the world today, and particularly in the black community. And what has my interest right now is the Black Panther movie, which is a very famous movie and got a lot of black people inspired and interested in Africa. And but the first thing I think that we should understand is that the Black Panther setting and Wakanda, that's all fake. It's all white man's idea. Stan Lee of Marvel Comics and his collaborators came up with that character, Black Panther. And ironically, a lot of our black people seem to believe that's actual history of Africa, even though we know that in thousands of years ago in our past history, we had some technologically advanced and very enlightened civilizations, but Wakanda was not one of them, and we should understand that. And we should also understand or be able to know our history. And one of the reasons why some black people may be misled about the reality of Wakanda is because we don't know our history. And one of the things that the Most Honorable Mr. Muhammad stressed, in fact, everything he taught us really was based on our history. And we need to know our history. And when we talk about the continent that the white man calls Africa, and of course there's great controversy on a lot of history when you're talking about Africa, but we can't let that intimidate us in discussing it. Because, you know, you got scholars that come out the woodwork. Oh, no, that's not right. And where'd you get this from? But, you know, we have to be conversant in our history. And we got to know some certain facts in order to make our point and get the truth established. Because it's all about the truth. We don't want lies. We want truth. Alhamdulillah. So we know that, or we should know that the Most Honorable Mr. Muhammad taught us that 50,000 years ago, our ancient father Shabazz left the root of civilization in Mecca, Arabia, and took his family or his tribe into the jungles of East Asia, or more particularly in this day and time, what is known as the Nile Valley. Now, this is a deep statement that 50,000 years ago, the black man left Mecca, Arabia, and migrated into Egypt, present-day Egypt. Now, first of all, what does that tell us? Number one, it tells us that the original Arabs, Mecca is in Arabia, so that tells us that the original Arabs is the black man. And that's something that needs to be stressed, especially with the influence that the present-day Arabs, pale Arabs, if you will, are having, the influence they are having on our people with regard to Islam. So, to take it a step further, all the ancient Islamic institutions with regard to the origin of Islam and the black stone and pilgrimage, all that was originated by the black man. Yeah. And, you know, these things may sound stupendous or, wait a minute, I never considered that. Yeah, so just to take it a step further, so our Arab brothers, Islamic brothers, are really hiding some of the truth with regard to the origin of Islam. Now, we know, of course, you know, on a deeper high, on a deeper level, if you will, that Allah, of course, is the originator or the author of Islam, but just in terms of the details with regard to establishing the rituals of the religion itself, is, we have to look and see, okay, who were those people? And those people were the black man, alhamdulillah. And they got books on it. So, a lot of times the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us things, and the critics and the naysayers and the disbelievers was like, well, where did you get that from? There's no history on it. But there is certain books, not a lot of books, but there is certain books by white historians, if that's who you believe, or, who take that's who you value their opinion, teach us that, yes, Islam and its ancient rituals, the black stone and pilgrimage and Hajj, was all originated by the black man. And if we have any understanding on the Bible, we can even find at least hints of that in the Bible, because in the 10th chapter, the book of Genesis, commonly known as the Table of Nations by some of the biblical scholars, we find that Ham, son of Noah, son Cush, is associated with Arabia. And Cush, if you will, means black in the ancient Hebrew. Yeah, so, there's evidence all around us, but we have to have some information. We got to have some knowledge. We have to have enough, a starting point so we can validate what the Most Honorable Mr. Elijah Muhammad taught us, if that's necessary. And it is necessary in this day and time with all the naysayers, critics, and disbelievers. Alhamdulillah. So we talking about the movie Black Panther. So Mr. Muhammad taught us that the black man inhabited Mecca, Arabia. Of course, we know the white man didn't come in existence until 6,000 years ago, so 50,000 years is 44,000 years before the white man came on the scene, right? Alhamdulillah. So 50,000 years ago, Shabazz left the root of civilization and migrated into the Nile Valley. And he actually wanted to make a people. His idea was to make a man that was strong and tough and hard, that a man or people who could not be defeated. To quote the Honorable Mr. Elijah Muhammad, or to paraphrase the Most Honorable Mr. Elijah Muhammad. That was Shabazz's idea, to make a people that was hard and strong and who could not be defeated. Now, when he told the other scientists, Shabazz was one of the 12 scientists, when he told the other scientists about his idea, they didn't want to have any part of it. And they told him to go to East Asia or Africa to conduct his experiment, but he couldn't conduct his experiment in Mecca, Arabia. So this is why Shabazz migrated into the fertile Nile Valley in the first place. And Mr. Muhammad, of course, went on to tell us that living in that harsh and climate, if you will, and their job in taming or killing the wild beasts that inhabited that part of the world in that day and time made our ancestors hard, strong, tough, a people that could not be defeated. In fact, he said that's the origin of our kinky hair, was migrating from Arabia, where our hair was straight, as they say, straight as the hair on our eyebrows, and it became kinky by living in that difficult environment. Alhamdulillah. So this is what the Most Honorable Mr. Elijah Muhammad taught us. Now, so those people, the descendants of Shabazz, are the ones who built the Nile Valley civilization with the pyramids and the Sphinx and all the big monuments that's left behind still to this day that got white people still scratching their head. Most of so-called Western civilization, or the white man's civilization, is really based in some part, in some way, on Egypt. The white man will tell you that they got their civilization or their first lessons in civilization from the Greeks. Where did the Greeks get it from? The Greeks got it from the black Egyptians. Now, the original Egyptians were black. Again, let's just bear that in mind. Of course, during the centuries of time, as we progress to this day and time, the black Egyptians became lighter and lighter because of race mixing with the pale Arabs, if you will, white people, Caucasian conquerors, through the centuries of time. Because the history of Egypt goes back, it's recorded. They got 6,000 years of recorded history. And that's something in itself. A civilization that was flourishing 6,000 years and existed for thousands of years. Alhamdulillah. Because Egypt really didn't kind of like cease to exist in terms of a power. It was still in effect, say 300 BC, if you will. Alhamdulillah. So some of the giants of that day and time, the black Egyptian gods and goddesses, if you will, history opens up. The white man's history opens up with Egyptian history with the pharaoh by the name of Narmer or Menes. They record him as the first pharaoh. And we're not going to go deep into the history of Egypt, but what we're showing is that while the white man got a fantasy about Wakanda, we got actual fact. We got actual history of black people doing stupendous things thousands of years ago. Black civilization on the continent commonly known as Africa. So Menes, one of the great achievements of Menes was that he extended the Nile River, if you know any geography, he extended the Nile River out to the Mediterranean Sea. Because the northern part of Egypt, or what they call Lower Egypt, was originally underwater. Menes, or Narmer, was able to, the black gods, they were able to dredge or dig out or extend the Nile River in its present configuration. Imagine that. What kind of technology did they have to do that? This is 6,000 years ago, more or less. We're just trying to show you, look, we got fantasy or we got truth. What do we want? And why can't we articulate or be conversant about our history? This is my point. We talking about Wakanda. Wakanda don't exist. But the Nile River exists. That country that we call today Egypt, that exists. Alhamdulillah. Look at the pyramids. The white man still scratching his head over the pyramids, especially the Great Pyramid of Giza, the biggest one, the one that they always take the pictures of. Still to this day, they don't know how the black man built that pyramid. Or actually any of those pyramids, because there are several there. They don't know how they did it, still to this day and time. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said they used advanced hydraulics. What does that mean? Some kind of telepathy, mind control, or did they have some actual engineering, construction equipment to move the blocks? Because each one of the stone blocks weigh like 2 or 3 tons apiece. Where did they get the stone from? They had to go to another place to cut the stone out of mountains. How did they cut it? What tools did they have? It's very precise. The construction methods they use, because they didn't use cement like we use cement to put bricks together. You lay a course of bricks and then you put the mortar on top and you put more bricks on. No, they didn't use cement. This is just brick on brick or stone on stone. How did they do that? We don't know. The white man don't know. But these are our people. These are the achievements of our people. The giants of history that's forgotten about. That the black man walking up and down the street, most of them can't tell you anything about it. Most of the Muslims, the followers of Elijah Muhammad, unfortunately are not very conversant on these particular things. And we should be. We used to be. But not now. Now the pharaoh that's associated with commissioning the Great Pyramid of Giza to be built is a pharaoh who they call Khufu. And I just want to add too, if you doubt these things, at least the racial identity of these individuals, the white man got pictures of their statues. And they're clearly statues of men with prominent black features. Alhamdulillah. Yes. Narma, Menes, Khufu, they look like you. They look like somebody walking up and down the street right now. Alhamdulillah. Yeah. Now, from a political point of view, the movie Black Panther was very deceptive, because let's bear in mind that when that comic was originated by Stan Lee and Marvel Comics, the Black Panthers and armed struggle was becoming that was a question that black people were entertaining in terms of the upliftment and betterment of black people here in America and getting our rights or our freedom. Should we engage in armed struggle? Because remember that when Malcolm left the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he had embraced the doctrine of armed struggle by any means necessary. That's what that means. Mr. Muhammad called Malcolm's teachings bloodbath teachings, that we really didn't have no win over white people in fighting for our freedom. And but you had people like the Black Panthers who embraced that idea, and that was part of their platform. This is why they associated, carrying weapons and things of that nature. Of course, Mr. Muhammad taught us that we don't carry weapons and that the fight is Allah. Allah will take care of our enemies. The only thing that's incumbent upon the followers or the Muslims is that we fight those who fight against us, but we're not the aggressor. Alhamdulillah. But in any event, the Black Panthers and black people who were entertaining the idea of armed struggle frightened white people. So all of a sudden, Stan Lee and Marvel Comics in that late 60s time period, very early 70s, they come out with the Black Panther movie. And what was one of the main sub themes or the plot of the Black Panther movie was that when the long lost relative, nephew, who was here in the wilderness in North America, he wanted to use the technology that Wakanda had to engage in armed struggle. But the Africans said, no, we don't do that. What was that saying from a political point of view? Oh, leave the slave master alone. Don't mess with the slave master. And look how they portrayed Eric Killmonger. He was actually, he was a descendant of Wakanda. His father was from Wakanda, but he grew up, he was raised here in America. So he took on the qualities and attributes of us black people here in the wilderness of North America. He was violent. He was undisciplined. He was aggressive. He was a woman abuser, if you will. He was dysfunctional. Yeah. We got this, white man put something out now. We got the science with it. We got to figure out, well, what is he saying? As opposed to our African brothers in the movie and sisters who were well-reasoned and had lots of understanding, really weren't violent, only when they were provoked. So this is the way the movie portrayed the black man in America. And to take it a step further, the movie portrayed that our African brothers and sisters were ultimately to be the teachers of the black man here in the wilderness of North America. But that idea in itself, of course, we can learn from everyone and everything. But we must remember that one of the cornerstones, or the cornerstone of the teachings of the Most Honorable Mr. Elijah Muhammad, is that we, the black man in the wilderness of North America, because we strayed away from civilization, and because the white man robbed us of knowledge of self and kind, that we are the first recipients of supreme wisdom. That Allah didn't come to the black man in Africa. Allah in the person of Master Farad Muhammad didn't come to the black man of Asia. He came to the black man here in the wilderness of North America. Alhamdulillah. So that shows a high place of honor that the black man in the wilderness of North America is. We are, again, the first recipients of supreme wisdom. Alhamdulillah. And that we are the teachers of the world of black man, not the other way around. And we have to understand this. The black man in America, just to take it a step further so we can understand our history and also understand our place in the scriptures, the black man in America is the lost found. Remember the parable of the lost found, the prodigal son, in the 15th chapter of Luke, is that he left his father's house, he strayed away to engage in the lifestyle of the stranger or the wicked, while his brothers stayed home with his father, with their father. And that when ultimately he returned home and he was broken and he was chastised because he strayed away. And when he returned home, the father was overjoyed that the lost son had came home. He said, oh, he was lost, but now he's found. Let's have a big celebration for him. Let's honor him.
That's right.
Let's give him his place of honor that he strayed away from, but now he's home. And the brothers who stayed with the father were offended. They said, why are you honoring him? Why are you celebrating his return? He left. We stayed here with you. The father explained, look, in other words, this is the chosen one. Yes, he was lost. He did wrong, but now upon his return, this is the one we've been waiting for. This is the one that we need to teach us. And this is the black man in the wilderness of North America. Alhamdulillah. Take it a step further to find ourselves in the scriptures. Joseph was sold into slavery by his brothers. And this is not to cause division, but we know that our own people helped the slave traders capture and sell us into slavery. Our African brothers. This is not to cause division, but this is historical fact. Joseph was sold into slavery by his brothers. But Joseph didn't hold a grudge, because when the brothers were enduring famine and the family came to Egypt to find food, Joseph was second in command of Egypt. And he allowed them, he honored them and blessed them with everything that he had. But my point is that it's the one who was sold into slavery. It was the one that strayed away. That's the honored one. That's the black man here in the wilderness of North America. So we have to understand our history. And we can't let Stan Lee and the Black Panther movie or anything else mislead us in terms of what we should be doing, or what we should understand our role, our position in the world today with regard to the upliftment and betterment of our people.
That's right.
Alhamdulillah. Because Mr. Muhammad clearly said that we must teach Africa. Remember that when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, when he made a couple pilgrimages, 2 or 3, he went to Mecca. He also stopped off in a few countries in Africa, and they were overjoyed. He visited Egypt. The president of Egypt in that day and time, Nasser, wanted him to stay there. Wanted to build him a great palace, if you will. Yeah, we know that history.
Yes, I heard it.
They recognize that this is the messenger. This is the one we've been waiting for. Teach us. But Mr. Muhammad said, no, I can't. When he went to what they used to call French West Africa, now called Senegal on the West Coast, the same thing. And they got some heavy Sufi scholars, black African Sufi scholars from Senegal. If you know, if you study black history, if you know Sheikh Anta Diop wrote a famous book or famous books. That's where he's from. He's a Senegalese Sufi. Those people, not necessarily Diop, but those people from Senegal wanted the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to stay with them. They told him words to the effect that your own people, they don't want you, they don't respect you, but we understand who you are. Come and teach us. But Mr. Muhammad said, no, I can. My duty is to teach my people, no matter what it takes and how hard-headed and hard-headed and stiff-necked they are.
Yes, sir.
It's our job to teach our brothers in Africa. Now, these brothers and sisters is coming over here and they running circles around us. Though, understand that in terms of taking advantage of what this white man society got to offer. You got Nigerians, you got all type brothers and sisters from Ghana and different places on the West Coast. I mean, they doing things. We still sleep. Look outside.
It's right.
Look outside. You understand? And we have to recognize these things. But yet we will teach them. But right now, we got to get ourselves together. We got to put the alcohol down. We got to put the drugs down. This is two of the main hindrances the white man got on us. Look at the brothers and sisters from the Caribbean. Jamaica, Haiti, same thing. They making moves. They doing things. Now, of course, some of them is following behind us in terms of ignorance and wickedness. But by and large, our brothers and sisters from the Caribbean are very productive, very industrious. And we know that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us in a very informative and beautiful article called The Mystery of Hiram the Widow's Son from 1965. He said that in a Masonic ritual, third degree, to become a master mason, the masons go through a ritual where Hiram Abiff is attacked and killed by what they call in the Masonic rituals ruffians, thugs, hoodlums, if you will. And one of them hit Hiram. He was the master architect, hit him on the arm. One of them hit him in the neck, but the third one hit Hiram in the head and killed him. And Mr. Muhammad explained that this is referring to the enslavement of the black man here in the wilderness of North America, and that the three ruffians represent the three great European slave-making nations. France, England, and America. Whereas the black man and the slave master in the Caribbean didn't completely rob the black man and black woman of knowledge and self, but this American slave master did. So when you see our brothers from the Caribbean making moves that we not making, taking advantage of opportunity that's here that we not taking advantage of, it's because we, the black man, been robbed completely of knowledge of self, and they haven't. Alhamdulillah. But it's time for us to wake up. And it's time for us to be able to speak about and articulate the things that we're talking about right now. You know, when a movie like Black Panther come out, we supposed to be dissecting that thing just like we doing now. And we supposed to be able to break this down. And we supposed to say, hold up. Yeah, it's a good payday for our brothers, the directors and the actors, and we understand that, but we all know this is fantasy.
That's right.
This is not true African history. You understand? This is not talking about, why don't you make a real movie about the black man in the Nile Valley again, about who built the pyramids and who dredged the Nile River out to the Mediterranean Sea. Why don't you, make a movie about that? This is what we need to be talking about. We can't depend on nobody else to teach our history. Alhamdulillah. Now to show that we not dealing with separation or division, because our job is to unite, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us, to unite the black man over the world. As one of the old articles say, to cube the world into a nation of righteousness, to square the planet off and then cube it. We'll be dealing with spiritual mathematics. And if you recall, or if you ever seen, this is the masthead of the old Muhammad Speaks newspaper. And on this masthead, you'll see the black man of Asia, the black man of Africa, uniting over the black man in America. Alhamdulillah. So we should understand the program and the teachings of the Most Honorable Mr. Elijah Muhammad, and that's a true representation. That's been photocopied and printed out. That was on the old paper. Muhammad speaks.
That's right.
Alhamdulillah. Yes, sir. So we not talking division, but we just dealing with the truth. We need the truth.
Yes, sir.
And we can't let, I just couldn't let that movie Black Panther just go by without having something to say about it, especially with the influence that it was having on our people. Because you got many, college educated black people that's just going crazy over this movie Black Panther. And in my opinion, that shouldn't be. But that's my opinion.
It's not even real.
It's not real. Alhamdulillah, it's not real. Some of us think, oh, well, that could be used as a model for what the hereafter will be like, or the new world that the black man is to build, even our separate state and territory here in the wilderness of North America, or wherever that may be. But remember, when we talking about the hereafter, when we talking about the kingdom of God or the kingdom of Allah, this is something that no one really knows what it's going to be like.
That's right.
Because the Bible and the Quran only take us to the door. It doesn't really give us a good description of what it would be like. The Quran teaches us that we'll be eating pure food and we won't be under stress and things of that nature, and that we'll have the black goddesses with us, but it doesn't really go into detail as to what the next world would be like. Because remember, this white man's world, the white man was only given 6,000 years to rule the planet. So his world is over. We know that's the reason why Allah came to us in the person of Master Farad Muhammad to save us from the destruction of this world, because America especially is the number one enemy on Allah's list to be destroyed. Alhamdulillah. Yes, sir. So we are given the teachings first to save us so we can find a zone of safety, as the Most Honorable Mr. Elijah Muhammad taught us, and it's a very beautiful article, and around page 48, 49, a message to the black man on that, using that same language. Alhamdulillah. But no one knows what the hereafter really is going to be like for those of us that think Wakanda is a model of what the hereafter is going to be like. We don't know. We know it's going to be a beautiful place, i.e. hereafter, paradise, but we don't know. I don't think our women going to be wearing shaved heads like they were in the movie. That's just my opinion, for instance. But we don't know, and we should, we should have some understanding of the details about what the hereafter or the kingdom of God is going to be, in terms of, do we have any information on it? How much information do we have? Prophet Muhammad is recorded as saying is that the kingdom of heaven or paradise or the next world to come is what no eye has seen, no ear has heard, nor has it entered into the hearts of man. No one really knows. No one can know, because it's under the guidance and the instructions of Allah in person. Because remember, in the book of Revelations, around the 20th, 21st chapter, that New Jerusalem was seen coming down from heaven. Remember that, as the bride of the Lamb. That's the instructions from the mother plane. So this thing is so deep, that movie Black Panther is so deep and touches on so many different aspects of the teachings of the Most Honorable Mr. Elijah Muhammad and our place in the world today, that again, I was really inspired that something needed to be said about this. Because we can't be misled by what white people, Disney Corporation, making billions of dollars over something that, has no basis of reality. Alhamdulillah. And just a few more things, just in terms of our African brothers and sisters. Remember that the Honorable Mr. Elijah Muhammad stressed emphatically that he didn't want his followers adopting, for instance, African styles of dress and hairstyles. Remember that. And this is not division, But, you know, we got supreme wisdom. And let's remember that. What does supreme mean? That's above all other things.
That's right.
Alhamdulillah.
That's right, bro.
Alhamdulillah.
Yes, sir.
That's supreme. So we got the supreme teachings, not them. And again, it's not to bring division, but it's just to put everything in its proper perspective, in its proper order, so we don't go astray. And of course, our people rebelled against the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and you know, we adopted African styles and things of that nature. And it's not the end of the world, but it is leading us on the wrong path, and we have to get back on the right path. As a Fatiha, first chapter of Quran, guide us on the right path. Because it's easy to get on the wrong path in this day and time. There's so many distractions. It's very easy to make that wrong step. Now you're on the wrong path. You don't listen to the wrong thing. You're following the wrong thing. And we all done been through that in one way or another in terms of the followers. Alhamdulillah.
Yes, sir.
Ready? Coming on? Okay, alhamdulillah. I want to thank everyone for your attention and enjoyed delivering a few words of the Most Honorable Mr. Elijah Muhammad to you. And now